恭请大德圣听，为此法会及一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，殊真无生。Will the Shankar with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchetoye alahati sanmyao sanputoche. Wu Sorry, excuse me. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受者，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. 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 Medicine Master does come one. 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 Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, and all good knowing advisors, Amitabha, welcome back. This is lecture number 155. Let me get today's slides. I'm going to mute my mic. So I'm trying to clear my throat, excuse me. Okay, as usual, I'm going to begin by asking if anyone has any questions. Yes, no? Okay, while you all think it over. Oh, yes, Mr. Tai.
Yeah, Fasil, I'm just wondering, let's say this morning I'm in the Tempian temple, and then I observed that the little pond, let's say example, there's fish, small little fish or any ants around the temple. So every day if they heard chanting or anytime the transfer of Mary in the temple, will they get a better rebirth? Whether these the animals or insects get a better rebirth? I'm just wondering, Pastor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good question. I do know there are stories. There's, for example, there's a monk in these are stories that I've either read before or I heard before, but I do not have the source. So I'm not even sure if I remember it correctly. All right, but this is, in terms of principle, this is what I know. So there is a monk who, when he became a monk and then he studied the Avatamsaka Sutra, there was a particular chapter that he could memorize very easily, and then, but the other chapters he could not. And later it was revealed by someone who could see. This was, don't know when, some time ago, not DRBA. I think this story came from Shufu, I'm not sure. Anyway, it was because this monk used to be, in his past life, he was a horse. Either a horse or a cow, but he was an animal that was pulling a pulling a cart. And on the cart a monk would sit as he was working doing all the temple work, and he would recite the Avatamsaka Sutra, a particular chapter, and that animal, the monk who was the monk in his previous life, would listen to the sutra that particular chapter being recited. So the seeds were planted in his consciousness. So that's one. Whether every animal will get the benefit is hard to say. You know, I know of other stories, and it was some other. After telling this particular story, I forgot about the other stories. Yeah, does anyone know of any other stories regarding animals and temples? But I do know some animals, because of their affinities with the Dharma, they find they on purpose, it's due to their intent as an animal, they go to a temple. So we have to understand, we see animals as lesser beings, all right? But the consciousness, no, I can't say that. How you say? Throughout many lifetimes, we will get born as animals, we get born as humans, we get born as spirits, we go to the heavens, we are reborn in the hells, and all the time it's the same eight consciousness. It's the same repository of karmic seeds that get born again and again and again. The consciousness may be, how you say, different, but not for the animal. Not for the, you just, okay, better don't say anything about this because I'm not 100% sure. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes we think lesser of certain beings, whereas from their perspective, they feel as if they are complete. That's, I might not be making sense, but so they are, how you say, they have awareness of the surroundings and all that. It's just that they are, how you say, intellect or logic may be compromised in different ways. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that they are very different in terms of how they think about their own existence. Okay. Yes, so thank you, Isabella, for reminding me about the learning how to sleep. It's related to the Dharma, but it's not. You could say it's an expedient. Okay, I will send out a WhatsApp message by tomorrow. I will probably, I don't think everyone can make it on one date, so I'll probably suggest 2 dates, or let everyone suggest 2 different times to hold the session on learning how to fall asleep. Okay, all right. Okay, let's get on with today's class. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, today we are still going to go through the Paritta chanting. Why? is because I think it's very helpful as Buddhists to understand different traditions, number one, but also number two, to see that the principles are actually the same. The sounds may be different, the clothes may be different, the style may be different, but the principles are actually the same because they all come from the Buddha. Okay, all right. So this is from a monk who is known as Sayadaw. I don't know how to pronounce the U, and then Silananda. Sayadaw is a honorific term for a monk. Usually means you're very senior, like an abbot of a monastery or like a very senior monk. And this is in the Sri Lankan tradition or Burmese, or maybe both. I think more for the Burmese. Yeah, maybe it's more of a Burmese thing. But when you see the word Sayadaw before the monk's name, that means it's a senior monk. Yeah, senior in terms of position. So he says, since these parittas are meant for protection and other good results, it is important that they are chanted and listened to in a correct way. Okay, let me put it another way. Why are we exploring paritta chanting? Well, if you chant mantras, you are if you consider yourself a Mahayana practitioner, okay, that's a big claim to be a true Mahayana practitioner. Then, by right, you should understand all the ins and outs of paritta chanting because it's the same thing, almost. All right? Okay, so that's why we are investigating this. So he says there are some conditions to be fulfilled by both the chanters and the listeners so as to get the full benefits of the paritta. Remember this when you come to a temple and you join any ceremony, Mahayana temple or Theravada temple. Okay? So it says, in fact, there are 3 conditions for the chanters to fulfill and another 3 for the listeners. So, okay, so it's both sides. The 3 conditions for the chanters, which are usually the monks in the Theravada tradition, for Mahayana is monks or nuns, they must have learned and chant the suttas correctly and fully without omission. So you chant it word for word. Okay. They must understand the meaning of the suttas being chanted. So you're not chanting blindly, you know exactly the meaning of the words that you are saying, enunciating. And number 3, they must chant with a heart filled with goodwill and loving kindness. That's very important. All right. And incidentally, goodwill and loving kindness is part of how you make merit. Okay. So that's on the side of the monks doing the chanting. And if you join in the chanting as well, then you also need to embody these 3 conditions. Then it says, the 3 conditions for the listeners are, number 1, they must not have committed the 5 most heinous crimes. These are considered the 5 major offenses in Buddhism, which are killing one's father or mother, killing an arahant, which means killing a sage, shedding the Buddha's blood. So shedding the Buddha's blood is not just literal. It also means if you, on purpose, you destroy an image of the Buddha or a sutra, anything that resembles the Buddha or represents the Buddha and his teachings. Okay, and the last one, causing a schism in the Sangha, meaning you cause left-wing people to fight with each other. That's number 1. Number 2, they must not have the fixed wrong view, the view that rejects karma and its results. So what does this mean? Fixed wrong view also includes being stubborn. It also includes being holding on to a view. You think you're right and everyone else is wrong. And so you are stubborn and you don't have an open mind. How the Buddha explained this, the Buddha used the simile of holding a snake. He says there's a right way to hold a snake. If you hold a snake incorrectly, you get bitten. But if you hold a snake correctly, then you are safe. So this is a simile that's used to teach us that although the Dharma is a very important, should be a very important part of our lives. Basically, it's through the Dharma that we learn how to end our suffering and be happy forever. At the same time, although it is very important, we shouldn't get attached to it. So we rely on it, we need it, but we should, not be stubborn in our views and understanding of the Dharma. So another simile that the Buddha used was the raft. He says, as you cross the sea of suffering, or you cross the, actually he didn't say that. He said, as you cross the river, you need a raft. Because if you don't have the raft, then you will drown. But after you cross, you don't need the raft anymore. You're not going to carry it on your back. And you know why? Because you're already crossed. You're on dry land. Same goes with the Dharma. The Dharma is meant to, it's a means to an end. That's what the Dharma is. It's to serve a purpose. And once it has served its purpose, you don't need it anymore. All right. So in other words, we always need to keep an open mind. So and one of the views, which is of a fixed wrong view, is that do not reject karma and its results. That means everything is cause and effect. People who don't believe or don't understand or have no faith or confidence in what cause and effect means, what happens? They look around at other beliefs. What they do is they pray. So faith in other religions is a belief in the salvation from a higher being. That means your safety, your well-being, your fortune, your fate is controlled by someone who's more powerful than you. So you pray to that God for the things that you want. Okay. Whereas in Buddhism, faith actually means confidence. You can have faith, like believing in the Buddha, believing in the Bodhisattva, and asking for them for help. But they can help you, but they cannot help you get enlightened. They can help you get out of trouble at certain times. They can show you the way, but you have to walk the way yourself. So faith in Buddhism is also a means to an end. It's if you have faith in Buddhism, then you will follow the practice. And then you will believe in cause and effect. And then you gain confidence, not just in the teachings, but in your ability to carry out the teachings just like how the Buddha did and become a Buddha or Bodhisattva or an Arhat. That's what faith ultimately means in Buddhism. It means confidence. You don't have any doubt whatsoever. All right? Okay, so there is a sutta called Itta Sutta that is actually about people who reject karma and its results. What does the Itta Sutta say? I call it the thoughts and prayers sutta. Buddha say, in this sutta, which is a very short sutta, the Buddha say everyone wants 5 things. Okay, what are the 5 things? They want long life. All right, long life means health as well. Long life and good health. They want long life, good health. Number 2, they want beauty. You want to be beautiful or handsome, and that also extends to personality. In other words, you want people to like you. And then number 3, happiness. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants things to go their way. Number 4, status, position. You want to be recognized, and that would include a financial status as well. So people want money. All right. And number 5, people want confidence. In other words, they want rebirth in heaven. They want at the end of this life, they don't want to worry. They want a good rebirth or a good destiny. The Buddha says, if these 5 things you can get through prayers or wishes, the Buddha's logic is very solid. He says, if these 5 things you can obtain through wishes or prayers, who in this world would lack them? Right? Everyone will be good looking. Everyone will have long and healthy life, right? Free of illness. Everyone will be happy. everyone will be popular. Everyone end up in heaven just by praying for it or wishing for it. So the Buddha says, if you want any of these 5 things, then you have to plant the causes to get any of these 5 things. It's all based on cause and effect. Okay? All right. So now coming back to our slide, number 3, listening with respect, attention, and confidence in the efficacy of the suttas in warding off the dangers and bringing good results. All right. So respect, attention, and confidence. Attention means, both respect and attention means your mind is not wandering. You are trying your best to pay full attention to the chanting. Okay. And it's very easy to do that, especially for Theravada chanting. Before some of you joined, I shared a chanting by Abhayagiri Monastery. Let me play a snippet of what it sounds like. When Shufu heard this, apparently he told Reverend Heng Shuo, he said, this is how we should chant. Because right now, the way we chant is Chinese style, follows the Chinese style. But Shufu says in the US, for the Westerners, the way that Abhayagiri does it, or the principle that the way they do it, behind the way they do it, is more suitable. Well, that was many years ago, and nothing has happened. Okay, let me play this. Okay, so that was in Pali. You all heard that, right? Did you all hear that? Can someone respond?
Yes, Dharma Master.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. All right, so it's very powerful, especially if there's quite a number of monks, at least 6 to 7, and you're there, and it's very easy to fall into the rhythm. Yeah. Okay. So now, next slide. Venerable Silananda says, only when these conditions are fulfilled do people get full benefits from the Parittas. It is a two-way action. I mean, it needs both sides. Those who chant are like those who give out something, and those who listen are like those who take what is given. If they do not take what is given, they will not get the thing. Okay, Chofu says it's like you go to the jewel mountain and then you leave empty-handed. That means a lot of people are like that. I see them in a monastery. They go to the temple, monastery. They have an opportunity to do something, to perform some merit, but they don't, and they don't understand why it's not being explained to them, because sometimes people think that if you just follow the motions, you follow the form, that's good enough, so they go to the jewel mountain and they leave empty-handed. So the monk says, therefore it is important to listen to the chanting with confidence, respect, and attentiveness. If during the chanting they do something else, they surely are not taking what is given, and so they will not get the benefits of the chanting. Okay. Now, at the end, he talks about sharing of merit. So I didn't share what he said about sharing of merit. He said sharing of merit is very important from all the goodness of the chanting. But what I have shared is an example. Different temples might do it differently, but this is an example of how they share merit. So it says, may those beings who suffer be free from suffering. May those beings who are in fear be free from fear. May those beings who are in grief be free from grief. May the rains fall in due season. May there be a rich harvest. May the world prosper. May the ruler be righteous. May beings celestial and terrestrial, devas and nagas of mighty power share this merit of ours. If you understand what's going on, okay, and if you understand the difference between merit and blessings, merit, you do any good deed is considered blessings, but it doesn't mean it's merit. But if you do it with a heart or intention of renunciation, that means you want to lessen your attachments by giving away, for example, generosity. So if you do it with a heart of renunciation, you do it with a heart of loving kindness, and you do it with loving kindness means you wish other beings are happy. And compassion, and you do it with a heart of compassion, meaning you wish that any beings who are undergoing any suffering be quickly freed from their suffering. If you understand that, and then you look at these verses right now, you realize that as you're transferring merit, you're also generating merit at the same time. It's like a loop. As you're giving away, you're also multiplying or generating more merit. Okay? And then may they long protect the Dharma. Then it goes on to say, may all beings share this merit which we have thus acquired. You know, when it's what they call sharing of merit, we call it transference of merit, right? And then may it I think I have made an error, may it rebound, I guess, to their happiness. Let this merit accrue to my relatives, may they be well and happy. From the highest realm of existence to Avicii hell, whatever beings that are born, those with form and the formless ones, those with or without consciousness, may they all be free from suffering. May they attain Nibbana. By the power of the immense merit I have acquired by paying homage to the triple gem or triple jewel, which is eminently worthy of reverence, may all dangers cease. So this is what they usually chant at the end of a Paritta session. They call it sharing of merit, of merits. In Theravada, okay, there is a wish. But in Mahayana, because we walk the Bodhisattva path, there's an added component to it. The added component is you have to make yourself responsible. So that's why we have the Bodhisattva vows, for example, which is I vow to do all good or do all good deeds. I vow to refrain from all evil deeds. And number 3, I vow to save all living beings. That's a big one. I vow to save all living beings. In other words, you transfer merit to living beings. You treat living beings with kindness. You treat living beings with compassion. How you say? There's so many things that goes into vow to save living beings. You accord with living beings happiness. The 10 vows of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva are contained in that one vow. You know, yeah. So that's the Mahayana version and perspective. Mahayana perspective is you. Okay, at our level, we want to make ourselves responsible for other beings' happiness. Instead of just wishing, we want to be able to do something about it, although we are usually unable to for the moment. Okay? All right, at this moment, do we have any questions? Let me drink some
I
water.
have a question, Dharma Master.
Yes, sir.
It's about consciousness. I don't know if I should ask it or not.
Please ask.
Is your consciousness the same life after life? It follows you?
No. Our consciousness, our mind, our current mind that we use to think right now, that we are using to listen and wondering what's going on, that goes away. That consciousness actually, in a single moment of time, in a single kashana moment, that means the time it takes you to blink. Our consciousness apparently undergoes 99 births and deaths. What that means is this. Our consciousness is like a computer program. It is not, but we think it's us. That's the problem. Okay, our consciousness, which is part of our 5 skandhas, we think that it is us, including our body. And that's our mistake. So what happens when we, how the consciousness operates, and this is what, if you meditate really well, you can actually see this happening. The consciousness arises when the mind has a sense, context with a sense object. So for example, like the eye consciousness, okay, before we go to the mind consciousness, oh yeah, your question is on consciousness. So for example, the eye consciousness. If you are deep in meditation and your mind is very quiet and you look with your eyes, you will be able to see the moment light or form. In Buddhist, we call, in the text we call it form. When the eye contacts with form, in biology, it will be when light enters the eye. Okay, when light bounces off an solid object or whatever object, and it contacts with the eye, that gives rise. Those are the conditions that give rise to the eye consciousness. So when you take away one of the conditions, there's no eye consciousness. It is not there. So that's how meditation works. You're not looking around. You're not smelling things. You put yourself in a quiet environment because you want to subdue the consciousnesses, the 6 consciousnesses that you have. So when you die, the consciousness just goes away. It's no longer there. And what comes in your next rebirth is the accumulation of habits that you have accumulated in this life as well as past lives. So what happens is when you see children, okay, when you see children like in a kindergarten and you observe them, they have all different kinds of personalities. They don't remember who they are. Some of them, their personalities are shaped by their environment growing up. But you can see they all have inherent in them. Some are just more kind, some are just more gentle, some are violent, because they carry these habits from their past lives. And their new consciousness is going to be shaped by their past karmic seeds. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yep.
Yeah. So you forget everything, only your habits remain, but you're not even aware of your habits. It's just you. It's just your personality. It's who you take to be you, because you get attached to your body and your mind straight away. You don't question it. So it's called the clinging 5 aggregates. So it's not the 5 aggregates that are at fault. Some people, they think, they want to cut off their sexual organs because they think they have too much sexual desire. But it's not that. It is the attachment that causes the problem, not the body itself. So the Tibetans are very into reincarnation of their gurus, their teachers. So there was I'm not sure if it was a documentary or a magazine report. There was a famous good teacher who died, and when the time was right, maybe one of the Dalai Lamas from the past, they identified a child who was said to be the reincarnation of the guru, the teacher who had passed away. So when this child became older, I think he was an adult now, he was interviewed and they asked him, a reporter asked him, he said, "Are you the same person?" And he said, "No." He said, what did he say? Okay, before I try to remember what he said, although he said he's not the same person, but his habits, some of his habits remain the same. So for example, his old driver, now is his driver from his past life was still around, so he drove him now. And the driver said, "Oh, this new master, he will do the same thing. Before he gets into the car, he will walk around the car 3 times. He will circumambulate the car 3 times, and he will always pat me on the head, exactly like the old master did." So that was one habit that he carried from his past life. Yeah. What did he say? He said, no, it's not the same person, but not different either, something like that. Yeah. So it shows us that in our practice, okay, if we want to be like who we want to be, we have to emulate now. That's why practices like holding precepts, it's not, how you say, it doesn't mean you just hold the form that you are truly holding the precepts. The precepts is meant to elicit a transformation in us. So for example, if you hold the precepts and you transform and you hold it on behalf of all living beings, you want to benefit living beings, and you hold the precepts with loving kindness, and you practice doing that until it becomes natural. The habit becomes you, and you don't think about it anymore. In the beginning, you have to wonder about how to hold the precepts, and you have to remind yourself. But after a while, if you have the right understanding, you allow the precepts to transform you. So it's not holding on to the form of the precepts, but yes, there's the form of the precepts, but you are guided by the spirit of and intention of the precepts as well. You truly understand why you should hold the precepts. Then in your next life, when you're reborn, those habits of doing things to benefit living beings, the habit of treating living beings with loving kindness are there. And when you encounter the precepts again, because you have held it until it has transformed you so well, either you find yourself, oh, I'm already doing most of this, or you find yourself saying, hey, the precepts make absolute sense, and and you don't see any reason why you shouldn't hold the precepts. So those habits carry on. So that how you say, is a very important understanding on how to approach practice. All right, so that's called the gradual. But if you can sit in meditation and you can break through the skandhas, illuminate through the skandhas like Guan Yin Bodhisattva in the Heart Sutra, then it's a sudden school. And it happens suddenly because past life you have planted the foundation before. All right? Okay. Great question. Anyone else?
I have another question, Dharma Master, if I may ask.
Okay.
So when we practice Buddhism in this life, because of our practice, it carries on to our next life. Is that correct? Such as meditation, chanting, keeping precepts. So life after life, it just carries on with you?
Yes and no. The seeds that we plant are always there. Whether the seeds arise or not depends on the conditions. Just like exactly like how a plant seed requires moisture, sunlight, and earth or dirt, and the right temperature to sprout. Same goes for our karmic seeds. And this is where intention is very important, because there are a lot of people who encounter Buddhism and their perception of Buddhism is praying. You pray for help. You ask for help, and they don't or are unaware that Buddhism is actually about transforming your bad habits into wholesome habits. They're not there yet. So if you have that kind of, and this is just my opinion, if you have that kind of perception on what Buddhism is, which is the Buddha is like a god, Bodhisattvas are like gods. You go to them, you light a joss stick, you pray, and you ask for those 5 things that the Buddha said that you cannot get through praying. Then what happens is in the next life, you forget all about the Buddha, okay? But the habit of putting yourself in the hands of a higher power is still there. That idea of salvation is still there. So if you are in a Islamic family, or if you are in a Catholic family or any other family that already subscribes to a belief that is that conforms with your habit that you have planted, you could I won't be surprised if that person will just take to that religion very naturally, because that's the seeds that they have planted. That has been their intention from their past life or past lives. And then when they encounter Buddhism, they may think Buddhism is nice because they may have planted seeds with the Buddha. But when you tell them about, oh, you have to transform yourself, they have a hard time accepting that. Okay, am I answering your question?
Yes, but what about when you make vows? That I vow that life after life, or when you vow to go to Amitabha's Pure Land, what about vows? The vows will carry you on, correct?
If it's strong enough, yes. Vows have a perfuming nature. That means you plant one seed and it affects other seeds. But it has to be strong enough to be able. That means your transformation through your vow has to be strong enough for that to happen life after life. That's the condition.
Thank you, Dharma Master.
All right. That's why they say when you take the Bodhisattva precepts, you take it life after life. Why? Because it's not easy. It's not easy for a normal layperson with all their responsibilities and the families and the career to undertake the Bodhisattva precepts, because it's so much against regular family life that it takes a big commitment. That's why for some people it's so difficult to to decide. But once you do, it transforms you so much. Provided you are very serious in taking it, it transforms you so much that in your next life, when you encounter the Bodhisattva precepts, your past habits or your vows will propel you to make that decision again. Okay? Anyone else want to help with Saha's question? Or have any questions of your own? I just remembered something, Sah. A lot of us make vows, we follow the words, but it doesn't come from the heart. And it doesn't change who we are. I vow to save all living beings. I vow to cut off all evil. I vow to do only good. I vow to save all living beings. I do that every time at lunchtime. Sometimes I find myself just saying the words and it has absolutely no meaning to me. So at those times, when you're just going through the motions and it doesn't effect a change in my next thought, in my next action, the next thing I say, you are planting seeds, but it's not how you say, it's not strong. It's there, but it's not strong. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let's go back to where we left off last week, which was the efficacy of Paritta chanting. Okay. So there's 4 factors. So just now we talked about the audience and the people who chant the Parittas, right? Now we are looking at the Paritta itself. What makes a Paritta provide an efficacious response? Okay, so there are 4 things. The power of truth, the power of virtue, the power of loving kindness and compassion, and the power of sound. Okay, what do we have? Power of truth, we kind of went through it last week, I think, right? It says Paritta recital is a form of Sacha Kiriya. We'll come to that more because we don't have time this week, but there are a lot of interesting stories about this assertion of truth. Yeah. But the stories are so long. I think one of the stories, if I share in full, will take 2 lectures to fully cover. So I have to condense the story. But it's full of meaning because it pertains to Saha's question earlier. And it's about how we can... Okay, I'll wait until it's time for the story, which is not this week. Anyway. Okay, so protection results by the power of such asseveration. This means establishing oneself in the power of truth to gain one's end. The recital concludes with the word Etena Sacha Vajena. I didn't complete my Pali class. It means, by the power of the truth of these words, may you ever be well. Remember, we just went through the sharing of merit? The belief in the effective power to heal or protect of the asseveration of something quite true is but another aspect of the work ascribed to the Paritta. Okay. And then the starting point, okay, now it talks about virtue. The starting point in Buddhism is sila, or virtue. What is virtue? Virtue comes from precepts, and ultimately what precepts are meant to do, the Sixth Patriarch calls it, virtue is the mind unmoving. Okay, so precepts, the precept against stealing is meant to help us against our thoughts of greed and attachment. So the ultimate, last week I talked about the monk who was sitting in meditation. The prefect saw him and was impressed and gave him gold to build a temple, and the monk just totally ignored the gold. To the monk, the gold had no meaning. Okay, like that, the mind unmoving, whatever is you get through your senses does not have the ability to control your thoughts and your emotions. Okay, now, standing on a firm ground of sila or virtue, one should endeavor to achieve a collected mind. If it is true that virtue protects the virtuous, then a person who listens to the recital of Paritta Suttas intelligently, in a reflective mood, with complete confidence in the Buddha's words, uttered by one who has gained complete enlightenment, the Buddha, will acquire so virtuous a state of mind as would enable him to dominate any evil influence and to be protected from harm. You see the connection? Okay, in other words, it is the Paritta serve a function for you to place your mind in such a state that the evil cannot, you will be untouched by evil. All right, that's important to note. Okay, then I'm not sure if I shared this. Another example of the mind unmoving is the Buddha when he was sitting under the Bodhi tree. And Mara tried everything to influence the Buddha. Mara sent his entire army. Mara sent his daughters to seduce the Buddha. But it was all unsuccessful because the only thing Mara can do is to affect someone through the realms of the senses, through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, the body, and the mind. Okay? But these are the very things that the precepts are designed to guard over. Okay? You got that? Mara can only get through to you from your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So that's why, like for an arhat, they are, they don't cling to their skandhas anymore. They don't cling, no more attachment or mistaken identity of their body. So Mara is totally powerless against them, because to them, like in the Heart Sutra, it says eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind are all empty. All right. So in our case, okay, the precepts are designed to guard our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind against what Shifu calls outflows. Every time you go and your eyes see something nice and then it sparks off all kinds of thoughts. You hear a certain song and all kinds of memories or new imagined things come floating in your mind. Those are all outflows. So precepts are at the ultimate level, not ultimate, at the advanced level, precepts are designed to guard against that. Okay, hence why in the 8 precepts, the practitioner is to stay away from entertainment, music, and all that. Okay, then you do that, Mara can very hard. You make it very hard for Mara, any evil influence to get to you. All right. Okay. Now, the power of loving kindness and compassion. So, Piyadasi Thera says, the utterances of the compassionate Buddha are never void of metta. He walked the highways and byways of India, enfolding all within the aura of his metta. Metta is loving kindness and compassion, instructing, enlightening, and gladdening the many by his teaching. The reciters of the Paritta are therefore expected to do so with a heart of love and compassion, wishing the listeners and others happiness and protection from all harm. Metta is an active force when performed with a pure mind to help, cheer, and make the paths of others more easy, more smooth, and more adapted to the conquest of sorrow, the winning of the highest bliss. I spent so much time talking about loving kindness before, so I don't really have anything more to add unless anyone has any questions, which I'm quite sure there won't be. Okay, moving on. Power of sound. It is believed that the vibratory sounds produced by the sonorous and mellifluous recital of the Paritta Suttas, which in their Pali verses, which just now you heard the Abhaigiri monks do their chanting, are soothing to the nerves and induce peace and calm of mind. They also bring about harmony to the physical system. How can bad influences springing from evil beings be counteracted by recital of Paritta Suttas? His answer is, bad influences are the results of evil thinking. They can therefore be counteracted by wholesome states of mind. Okay. Says one sure way of inducing a wholesome state of mind is by listening and reflecting on Paritta recitals with intelligence and confidence. So great is the power of concentration that by adverting wholeheartedly to the truth contained in the Paritta recitals, one is able to develop a wholesome state of mind. The recital of Paritta Suttas can also bring material blessings in its wake through the wholesome states of mind induced by concentration and confidence in listening intelligently to the recital. Excuse me. The best example of this is when the Buddha would teach people. It is said that the Buddha can, by uttering one sound, every living being hears it differently. And when the Buddha speaks to an audience, everyone feels as if the Buddha is speaking directly to them. Yeah, what a power. And that's why there are so many incidents of so many beings or humans gaining insight whenever the Buddha taught. Also, the Buddha knew exactly how to, the Buddha would know all your karmic seeds, and the Buddha would know exactly how to create the right conditions for those seeds to sprout. So you can sprout a seed for the Bodhi resolve, for example. You can activate a seed from your past life that makes you enlightened in this life, Yeah, the Buddha will be able to see all that. Excuse me. Which is why in Theravada Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, we all want to be reborn in the Pure Land, and so we can listen to the Buddha directly, Amitabha Buddha. In Theravada Buddhism, the aim is to be reborn in the future with the Buddha, with Maitreya Buddha, so that your chances of, so all your hard work now will pay off. If you don't get enlightened now, then in the future it will pay off. Yeah. Continuing with the power of sound, it says, according to the Buddha, right effort is a necessary factor in overcoming suffering. Listening to these recitals in the proper way can also generate energy for the purpose of securing worldly progress, while it also secures spiritual progress. There is no better medicine than truth or dharma for the mental and physical ills which are the causes of all suffering and misfortune. So the recital of Paritta Suttas, in as much as they contain the dharma, may, when they are listened to in the proper attitude, bring into being wholesome states of mind, then which conduce to health, material progress, and spiritual progress. The effect of Pirit, it means Paritta chanting, in the language in Sri Lanka, in Sinhalese, that the language that's spoken in Sri Lanka, can also transcend distance, however great. It is true that the Buddhists consider the Parittas as a never-failing, potent, and purifying force, a super solvent. However, a question may arise whether recitals from the Book of Protection will, in every case, result in the protection and blessings sought for. In this connection, the same reply given by the Venerable Nagasena to King Milanda's question why the recital of Paritta does not in all cases protect one from death is worth remembering. Okay, if you have ever tried to help someone, or you're sick and then you recite a mantra, thinking, oh, I'm going to recite 108 times, drink the water, and then tomorrow I feel better. And then it doesn't happen. Okay, now you're going to get one answer to why sometimes it doesn't work. Okay. It says, due to 3 causes, the recital of Paritta may have no effect. Okay, Sachal, who's not, I don't know why Sachal doesn't join us. He has a lot of questions to ask on WhatsApp, but he doesn't join. This is related to one of the questions Sachal has asked me before. So, due to 3 causes, the recital of Paritta may have no effect. Karmic hindrances, hindrances from defilements, and lack of faith. Karma means action and not the result of action. Therefore, action can be counteracted by other action. Karma is not something static, but is always changing. In other words, always in the making. That being so, action can be counteracted by other action. Hence, bad actions on the part of the hearers of the recital may negatively impact, the beneficial effects of the recital. Okay, let's move on. Says, if the mind of the hearer is contaminated with impure thoughts, then also the intended beneficial effects of the recital may not materialize. But however impure the mind of the hearer may be, if there is great confidence in the efficacy of the recital, then this important factor may help to secure for him the beneficial effects of the recital. Okay, the Buddha, and there's one sutta where the man's father had passed away, and this man's father was was a miser, very stingy, had a lot of money but was very stingy. So he had some treasure buried somewhere in the house, and he was so attached to the treasure. Oh, this is one example of consciousness in life after life. Okay, at the moment of death, his consciousness was so attached to the to his treasure that in his next life he came back as a dog. He was reborn as a dog in the compound of the house, and the dog would always sleep where the treasure was buried, guarding it. That's how our thoughts, our state of mind, how powerful and important it is to pay attention to that. There's another same story. I think it was a monk. Yeah, a monk was very attached to his robes to the extent that he died. Suddenly he died. Something happened. And he was born as a louse, L-O-U-S-E. I think that's a tick, right? Is a louse a tick? Let me see. L-O-U-S-E. Okay. Yeah, it's not tick. Yeah, it's like a tick. It's lice. Yeah. So this monk was so attached to his robes. He was the color of his robes and all that. He was reborn as a lice on the rope after he died. Yeah. And another story was the frog. Let me see, what was this? Someone dropped something valuable, like a gold coin, into the accidentally dropped it into the toilet, and then also died. And the next moment was reborn as a frog in the toilet, next to the gold coin, something like that. Yeah, don't ask me for the details. I only know those. So why am I telling you all this nonsense? Or actually, it's not nonsense. But why am I telling you all this is because the sutta, when the son of the person who died and was reborn as a dog. Okay, something happened between the dog and the Buddha. The Buddha kind of not scolded the dog, but the Buddha told the dog, when in your past life you also like this, now you also like this. And the dog became very sad. And the son came home and found the dog very sad. And because of the past affinity of father and son, the dog was very special to the son. The son cared very much for his dog, loved his dog very much. If you ask him why, he wouldn't know, but he just said, "Oh, I really like this dog." So the servants told him what happened, why the dog was like that. And he went to see the Buddha. On his way to see the Buddha, he was full of anger with the Buddha because he thought the Buddha had mistreated his dog. And the Buddha told the monks, he said, "Okay, you look at this person who's coming towards us right now. If he was to die at this very moment, he would be reborn in the hell. Why? Because his mind is full of anger." So after he talked to the Buddha, and the Buddha explained everything to him, and the Buddha told him how the Buddha said that the dog is guarding buried treasure that your father buried, because your father came back as a dog. When the dog is sleeping, the Buddha gave him a way for the dog to reveal the treasure, something like that. And he tried it and it worked. And then he went back to see the Buddha, but this time was very happy because now he knew that the Buddha was not trying to fool him, and he was happy because he found buried treasure. And so when he was walking towards the Buddha told the monks, he said, "Okay, now you look at this person, because his mind is gladdened right now, no more anger, no more hatred. If he were to die right now, he will be reborn in the heavens." So when people die and we chant like Amitabha's name, or in Sri Lanka they have a tradition of reminding the person about all the virtuous deeds that they have done, it's for this purpose. It's so that we have a peaceful, happy state of mind. And that also comes from habit, accumulated habit. Okay, loving kindness and compassion. If you are able to maintain loving kindness and compassion and generate merit in everything that you do, and you become transformed by it, then at the point of death, those traits will naturally arise. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now let's transfer merit. But before that, any more questions? If
I
not,
have a question, Dharanis.
Yes, Saha.
When it comes to making a vow to be born in the Pure Land, in Amitabha's Buddha Pure Land, after this life ends, does that mean that may or may not happen because of our vows and how strong our vows are?
It is not just vows, it is also practice. It is it depends on, let me see, practice, vows, and is there a third thing? Yeah, it's not just vows. It's your vows have to it is, they call it the power of your vows. Your vows have to be so powerful that it makes you practice, it makes you hold the precepts really well, it makes you investigate the Pure Land Sutras and understand the meaning and how to how you say, you really invest yourself in understanding what the Pure Land is all about, and you apply yourself in the right way. But if it's just vowing to go to the Pure Land, that's more like a wish, you know. If it doesn't lead to proper practice, it doesn't lead to transformation, you know. I'm not saying it's not going to work. I don't know, but from what I understand, vowing to be reborn in the Pure Land should lead to practice and transformation. Okay, because you have to do the work to be able to qualify. Amitabha Buddha wants you to come. He will welcome you with open arms, but it's a journey that you have to make for him to be able, for you to be able to even see him and recognize him when he's there. Okay, all right. Dedication of merit. In the future, when we hold the discussion on the Pure Land, I'm not sure when. I don't want to have too many events for people, but if there's enough interest and you want it to be at the same, how you say, for this lecture to go on, and then the Pure Land is another thing that we add on, and if there's enough interest, then yes, I will be more than happy. I've been waiting a long time to talk about the Pure Land, to have a discussion about the Pure Land, because I feel it's really important for people to investigate the sutras directly and understand. Okay. Dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find in giving unity. May our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Let's do 3 bows to the Buddha. Okay, first bow. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Venerable Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Okay, everyone, we'll see you all next week. Amitofo.